Thank you for joining me for part 4. In this video, I'll show you sewing with the machine and some of the features of it as far as adjusting the stitch length. To the right of the machine, right behind the bobbin winder mechanism, you'll see that there's a metal plate and it has numbers marked off on it. This knob is a screw. You can loosen it and slide the knob up or down. Also behind that knob, there's a little small metal arrow indicator to help you know which stitch length that you're on. With the knob unscrewed and placed up in this highest position and tightened down, the machine will make a longer stitch. If we loosen the screw and let the knob float downward and tighten up, we're going to get a tighter stitch length. So let's practice with it just doing a tight stitch length and up at the top. I'll turn towards the stitch area here. Try to get us a little bit more where we can see it better. Of course, we would have our stitch plate on. Both the bobbin and the top thread are pulled through the toes of the foot. And just of interest with this machine, you may be familiar with current machines, modern machines, having what they call a low shank foot. That would be where it would go onto the shaft of the foot holder from the left and have a screw in it. This particular model is a top clamping presser foot. And so I just wanted to show you just a little bit about that. It's funny, these machines were straight stitch machines, but oftentimes they would come with an attachment box that had other presser feet that would include hemmers, rufflers, and things that we really still use today. I've just turned this knob to the left. Think of that lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And when you loosen that, when the foot is off, it looks like this. So you can see the reason for them calling it a top clamping foot. You know, you might, if you're out antiquing, or you might have other machines, it's just quite interesting to me that even many years ago, that when sewing machines were developed, they came out with some attachments that would make the sewing even easier. All right, so that stitch length is its longest, and I'm going to place some fabric underneath the foot and lower that presser foot lever down. And I'm going to start turning the hand wheel. In the case that it was in a machine, I'd get the hand wheel started and start treadling it. And you can see without that plate being on there, you can see the shuttle moving back and forth. And with the shuttle cover on there, it would prevent any threads from our work getting caught down in that area. I'm going to zoom us back out for just a minute, and you may recall in our previous video I was telling you that when we raised the presser foot on this machine, it did not really set up retention. And so I don't want to pull and break the needle or break the thread. I will simply press down on the lever, pull to remove my work, and then I can cut my threads. But they even kind of thought about that too. It's not very sharp. I wouldn't really want to use it or depend on it, but you'll see it looks almost like a little, I don't know, cleaver or something back there. And that was to be your thread cutter. So I just thought that was sort of a amusing fact about it. But this is our stitch length with it set at its longest stitches. I'm going to get the camera where it's not so much glare, but we can see it. So there's the stitches, the top, and then the back. Making a really nice stitch. This would be what I'd consider a basting stitch, of course. So I'm going to move the stitch length knob down, and I have found that at about this second mark, that was the first one, there's another one, maybe about this second mark down, that looks like would be a nice stitch length for holding a seam. So I'll turn back over to the stitch area and let's stitch that, and we can compare the two stitch lengths. bring that needle up, release the pressure foot, hold down on the tab at the top of the machine, pull the work to release it. And of course, now the one on the left was our first set of stitches. And I'm going to flip it over so we can see the back. I had actually sewn on some yellow fabric earlier. Did a couple of test runs with it. I'll bring that over into view for you. I think it actually shows the stitches a little bit better. Sorry for the camera shake there. The ones on the left, of course, was with the stitch length quite a bit longer. The ones on the right were set shorter. And here to the back, you can see those longer stitch length versus a really tight stitch length on this one. And just varying ones from where I was playing around at. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been an interesting machine to play around with. And I have found that this was actually a badged machine by National Sewing Machine Company. And this was a little clip, a photo that I found that shows what this machine might have looked like when it was new or newer. You'll see that the decal set is very similar, even though it's quite worn. We can see a similarity there, as well as the shape that's over the or underneath the upper tension area. So we can get that twisted without it flipping out of the phone holder there. Especially down on this end, we see that plus sign plus the letter E. I'll zoom you in even more. There we have that. And now on our paper there. So I do believe that this is what this machine might have looked like. It's debatable whether Arrow would have been the name in the top portion of it, as National Sewing Machine Company did and others did. If a store had a big enough order and they wanted to put a name on a machine, they could pretty much call what they wanted to be put on the machine. In the particular picture that we looked at, it was called Arrow. I have found other examples on the internet of this same machine, same decals, and it was called Oriole, and actually that reference was on Pinterest. And then there was one other example that I saw, the same decals, same machine, and the name in the badged area was Minnesota H, which is a little unusual because Minnesota was usually made by a different sewing machine company and was produced for Sears. So it's still a lot of a mystery there. But the bobbin case and the needle for this machine were stamped Eldridge. And so that's what took me down the rabbit hole of playing detective on this. And I found that Eldridge and June Manufacturing were kind of collaborating before 1890. And when the owner of June Manufacturing Company died in 1890, Mr. Eldridge and the company, the bits of the company of June Manufacturing, they actually consolidated and became National Sewing Machine Company. And so it makes sense that the bobbin case and the needle was marked Eldridge, because they thus then turned into National Sewing Machine Company. So if somebody asked me to date this machine, I would probably say early 1900s. I would probably say no further than the 1920s, just because the decals, to me the decals look Art Deco, but again, I'm not real up on decal history for that machine company. I hope you've enjoyed this series, and I'll look to be posting more videos soon. If you have questions, drop me a note. I hope you'll like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.